Hello, beautiful listeners. Welcome to another episode of You Are Poetry podcast, the place where we dive deep into the oceans of self-discovery, self-belief, and the endless journey to finding our true selves. I'm your host, Rheta, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here with me today. We're talking about something really, really wonderful. If you have listened to the last 4 episodes, then you know that we have been on this journey of discovering how we speak to ourselves and how we speak about ourselves. So I went through the process of talking about how important it is to create and craft your personal narrative. And from there, you can discover who you really are and what matters to you. Then you can convey that message to everybody you come into contact with, which will then make it a lot easier to identify the people who are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. From there, you can fall in love with yourself, truly unconditionally love yourself. And if you truly love yourself, I believe in our last episode, I made this assertion that when you truly love yourself, your purpose reveals itself. Notice I did not say your passion reveals itself. That's where I want to begin. I want to talk in this episode, so this will technically be our 5th episode, which is the capstone episode to that journey that we went on. So let's dig deep and talk about discovering, uncovering, and revealing your purpose. I'm going to start with a poem that I wrote several years ago now. Let's see, in 2021. And it's called Invisible Strings. My path is not yours. It's an interwoven thread of truth that leads us all to build together this beautiful blanket of life, keeping us all warm, secure, safe, and connected. We overlap, we diverge, we break apart, and reconnect. We weave our way beside one another, but we are on very different courses with only a shared purpose to relate to. Only the weaver knows the pattern, so we must trust. We must be used, led, guided, like a thread through the eye of a needle. I remember when I was younger, having a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. I would come home and set up, so I must have been like 8 or 9, and I would come home after church and I would set up all of my stuffed animals along my bed, like they were sitting in pews, and I would stand up in front of them because I was already in my dress and stockings, and my hair was already done from attending service. And I would grab my Bible, I had my junior Bible, and I would preach to them. And I remember how that transformed into lining up all of my stuffed animals and collecting my old papers from school, and then I would be the teacher. Then, as I got older, I ended up joining choir and singing in front of my stuffed animals, and then I got interested in theater and started performing in front of my stuffed animals, and it just kind of continued from there. And what I'm realizing essentially is that your purpose is almost what you're born to do. Things that maybe even in a young child's mind, you don't even know how you're going to do it. And you have no clue why you want to do it. But for some reason, it's what you naturally have some talents or some interest in pursuing. So knowing the difference between your purpose and your passion is really important. And I think that this is why this is a really great conversation to have. Because usually when we're growing up, we're told, find your passion and you will make lots of money and you'll be very successful and everyone will see how great you are. And the rest will be history. And I just think that that can cause a lot of confusion. I love words. And what I love the most about words is that, yes, you can be poetic and use them and craft them in a way that can convey different meanings. But on the most part, words have specific definitions. And if you get really, really clear about the definition of what word you're using, just like if you get really, really clear about you and who you are and what matters to you, then you can see yourself clearly. And when you see yourself clearly, you can start to fall in love with yourself. And when you fall in love with yourself, you can then express that love to other people. And to me, that is what the podcast is built on and what my mindset is built upon and what my journey has become. So understanding the difference between purpose and passion, I believe, is essential for navigating our personal and professional lives, because we're always seeking some sense of balance, some sense of, are we headed in the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? Is this my thing? Is this uniquely mine? How can I make this uniquely mine? I mean, all of these kind of questions that once we dig into ourselves and we say, well, okay, this is what I have to give. This is who I am. And then now you get a little confused about how to express that. So I wanted to start with that poem because in a lot of ways, it's called The Invisible Thread. And in a lot of ways, the purpose is invisible, right? Many times we go through our life and we, navigate from one job to another job, from one situation to another situation, from one person to another person. And I think that underlining foundation is not really knowing why we're doing what we're doing. When we can discover why we're doing what we're doing, then we can decide if that's what we want. Like, why am I not doing something? Like, what's the payoff for me not doing it? What's the payoff for me doing it? These are all kind of the questions that rumble inside of us that eventually we're going to have to, flush out so that we can get really, really clear about what we're doing. We don't have a lot of time. We do not have a lot of time. And time is relative. When things are going really, really great, it feels like time flies. When things are going really, really bad, it feels like the hours, the minutes, the seconds are dragging along and they've somehow expanded and you feel like you're in this vacuum. Imagine being in a career and you feel like the hours are just stretching before you and you dread waking up in the morning to go to this career, this job. Imagine dreading to wake up every morning to do what your day-to-day, routine is. After many years of doing this, it just becomes really sad. And then you wonder why you're not sad. You wonder why you're not joyful. You wonder why you're not, filled with love and overflowing with purpose, right? Because you've ended up doing things possibly by default, that really are not what you really truly want to do and not how you really truly want to express yourself with the life that you have. So passion versus purpose is really important to know the difference between. Okay, so I'm going to start with this idea where we have an inward outlook versus an outward outlook. And passion is often associated with what the world gives you, while purpose is about what you give to the world. It's a distinction between an inward and an outward outlook, where passion is more focused on personal fulfillment and purpose is oriented towards making a positive impact on others and the world. Passion feels really great. Passion's a really strong, powerful emotion, right? You feel excited, you just like, it revs you up. But like many emotions, like many feelings, like many strong, passionate moments, it can be fleeting. So I kind of equate that high that comes with feeling passionate and on fire about something with, I equate that, as kind of the opposite of what the feeling of purpose is. Purpose is more peaceful. It's more calm and grounding, right? It's more of the underlying motive that will drive us forward. And the feeling behind purpose is almost like focus. You have a focus of what the work that you're doing is going to manifest as in the world. When you find your purpose, passion is likely to follow it because purpose allows you to align your choices with who you authentically are. And then you can get revved up or excited or passionate about that. A lot of people feel like passion, is coming first before purpose, that you find that all of a sudden you find this thing that revs you up and you're excited about it. But how many times, if we slow down and we think about it, how many times has something that we've been passionate about turned out to be something that has no longevity? And you can use that in so many different areas of your life. I mean, the thing that pops into my mind is relationships. If you go out on a date and the first thing you just lay eyes on this person and all of a sudden you're just excited, revved up, and it's very passionate, that can be a really overwhelming experience. And there eventually, with that really big high, you're going to have to kind of like calm down and like let the energy settle, right? And come back down to earth a little bit and see if there's some substance on the other side of that passion. And sometimes when the dust settles, you realize that it was just the emotion. It was just the attraction, right? And that the substance that you were looking for, hoping for, or craving just is not there, right? Passions can drive you to do all types of wild things that can be impulsive, that can lead you down paths that you later might reflect on and say, man, I really got caught up in that moment or caught up in that experience or caught up in that person. And I was very passionate about it while I was doing it or while I was with them or while I was feeling it. But then what happens when the feeling subsides? Okay, so again, this idea that we're describing passion separate from purpose. And I think a lot of people have kind of like melded those together. So if passion is more emotional based, then purpose should be more motivational based, right? And a motivator for your actions that follow. So, you're feeling excited and, you're like, oh, I discovered my passion. And then it runs out of fuel for you. Then a little bit of time passes, or circumstances change, or, all of the other variables in life occur. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, I thought that was it. And so then we have to say, no wonder people are so frustrated with the narrative of once you find your passion, you've discovered what it is that you're supposed to be doing here in life. Well, what if you continue to find things that excite you, but that maybe they don't ignite you? And what I mean by that is that your purpose will ignite you, and it will be a continuous candle that burns within you, that is not easily blown out, that can kind of be a forever motivator to drive you towards what you are creating and what you are doing and what you are giving out from yourself, right? The outward outlook, giving to others, giving to the experience, giving to the moment, right? It's really, really something that I recall having several conversations at formative times in my life about what am I passionate about, and what could the purpose of all of the skills, abilities, talents, lessons, experiences that I've gone through, what could be the purpose of that, right? So longevity versus being short-sighted. Those would be the two areas that I would, if I was to say, how do I know the difference between passion and purpose? I would put it up against maybe the duration that it lasts. And unfortunately, if you say that you're going to do a time frame on it, passions might last a while. They might last 2 years. They might last 3 years, but they're not long term. And so what I'm saying is not just about identifying if it's a passion or a purpose, but I'm saying being intentional for looking beyond passion into purpose, because many times those could align as well. I have a purpose of speaking life into others. And many of my lessons, many of the things and tools and skills that I have collected over the years, they have been led by many different passions. A passion for writing, a passion for creating video content, a passion for speaking, a passion for, teaching other people. So all of those things, those passions kind of added up, and I can apply those passions to my purpose. And my purpose is the long-term, focused view that I have of what I am supposed to be actually doing and what fulfills me, right? So purpose is about the greater impact that you have on others and your surroundings, right? When you're thinking about purpose, it should be in the context of what you are giving of yourself, and versus what you are taking. Because if I'm passionate about you because I'm attracted to you, I'm really looking at what I can get from you. But if I have a purpose in life that is to perhaps help guide people towards their better version of themselves, it's not going to be it's not going to be about what I can take from those people. It's going to be about what I can give to those people. So it's subtle, and I think that that's where the confusion comes in sometimes. At least that's where the confusion came in for me. And when you're talking about your personal narrative and who you are and what matters to you, you have to start having this discussion, this deeper discussion about personal fulfillment and what that and impact ultimately. If you start to feel that you are worthy in this world, that your voice is worthy to be heard, that your pain is worthy to be acknowledged, that your gifts are worthy to be seen, right? When you start truly believing that and loving that and those things that make up who you are, then you can talk about personal fulfillment and the impact of bringing all of who you are into the space, the world, the people around you. Because if we have a bunch of people walking around who do not feel worthy and then do not express worthiness to other people, we have a really, really sad situation. And I believe that's really why I feel called to have the conversations that I'm having. We need to be honest about how we are not training up ourselves, training up our children, and holding other people accountable for how they are behaving and how it affects us. All of that becomes really, really important in this day and age. I think in all days and age, but I can only talk about what I'm experiencing. And what I'm experiencing, even as I watch my children experience interactions with other children, is we may say or think that we want people to be kind to one another, but in some way it's getting lost in translation through our parenting, through our conversations, through our interactions with each other. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking accountability for the fact that I have spent a lot of time thinking about these things and learning about these things and trying to change some of these things. And my responsibility and accountability is to pass on this information and these insights in an effort to help other people, in an effort to help my children. My children may listen to this one day. Hopefully my children are listening to me now while I'm raising them. But, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, correct? So I don't know when those messages will land, with my children. I can only hope through what I feel I've been called to do, my purpose, that I can create things that are lasting and impactful, right? And that gives me personal fulfillment. So let's talk about how passion is about doing what you love, and purpose is about doing what contributes. So passion is more inwardly focused, while purpose is outwardly focused on positively impacting others and the world. So my passion is speaking, is writing, is helping, is empowering others, right? And I do that because I love to do it. I do it because I don't get paid for it. Here's the biggest sign of have you discovered a passion? I don't get paid for it. I do not get paid for the hours that I sit on the phone or I sit and have coffee with my friends and I build them up and I encourage them and I speak into their life and I just love on them, right? Like I don't get a transactional amount for that, right? But my purpose is intermingled in that, right? And I'm doing what contributes to them. I'm positively impacting them. And there are so many other ways. I can only express what I am doing, what my, calling, what my purpose, what my passion has revealed itself to be, as I continue to act out from a healed place, from a healing place, all of my steps, right, in this journey. And I don't want this to feel, and as I continue to do episodes and I am going to extend into interviews next, I don't want this to feel as like a measuring stick, because all of us are on very different paths of spiritual development, emotional development, social development, career development, and we're supposed to be, okay? We're all really dynamic. And so where one person is, another person, may strive to be, but perhaps in their process and in their healing, they're going to end up not even being there. Maybe they'll surpass, what that person has experienced. Or maybe they'll just get to where that person has found some peace and some healing. So I really want to be compassionate and understanding in the world of self-help, right? Because many times we can start thinking about it being a destination of being healed. And I am very much in a continuous destination of healing. And you feel more healed as you take each step, as you process each emotion, as you continue to self-reflect and say, and measure yourself and say, I didn't really like the outcomes. Like I worked really, really hard in this area and I still am not satisfied with that. And I think that that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of this journey, is that you can continue to throw your energy and your intentions of healing towards an area of your life and just become better and better. It's an evolutionary process. And we need to continue to have compassion for each other, that maybe we are not going to be on the exact same step in that ladder. And we're damn sure not going to, get all the way up there, to a place of higher understanding and not turn around and reach our hand out to help up, the next person. And so passion and purpose and all of the other things that we're going to discuss this year, which is really, really exciting for me, because there's so much more for me to learn from others and so many conversations that I want to have and that I want you all to listen in on so that we can collectively contribute to each other's growth and each other's development. Why do I say all of this? Because it's important to recognize and to receive clarity about how we can align our actions with what we want. It's important to know that when you are expending effort and energy and time and resources on something, that you're going to get out of it, if not exactly what you want out of it, but better. And, I was having a conversation earlier. I have like a coffee chat with my girlfriends and new women that I come into contact with. And I was talking about the idea that you do not always get out of a situation, especially a bad situation, what you thought you were going to get out of it. You can go through a situation and you're like, this is the worst thing that could happen to me. I can't believe this is happening. I wouldn't wish this on anybody else. And why do I have to go through it, right? All those thoughts that happen when something undesirable is occurring. And it's only kind of in hindsight and reflecting on those things that you realize that, wow, that tender spot of wounding that really riled me up and got me going. And I was so stressed. I was so nervous. I was so upset by that. It's only as you look back on it and reflect that you realize that you came out of it with so much more. And if you had not gone through it, then you would not be in a position to help other people go through it, and you would not be as strong and resilient as you are. So, resilience is something that you only know that you have resilience when you're in the storm. It's kind of like you spend all of this time building this structure, this house, let's say, and you spend all of this time, hammering in the nails for the roof and all of this stuff. And it looks good. It looks great. It looks solid. But until the storm wages war on that roof, you're not going to know what it can handle. You're not going to know if there's a leak. You're not going to know if it's going to fall. You're not going to know if it's as strong, as you built it. And you're not going to know that the tools that you use were the right tools. There's so many things that you would not know had that roof not been tested. So part of finding your purpose is being tested, Like until you are tested, until you truly, get to a point where you can look at all of your junk. We talked about this with personal narrative. You can look at all of your junk, all of your stuff, all the stuff you had to go through that you carry with you, whether you like it or not. And until you can look at it, sift through it, get rid of it, move past it, heal somewhat from it, and make better decisions, how do you know that you have a purpose? How do you know what your purpose is? If you have not been tested, how do you have a testimony? Part of a testimony is the test. How do I know I am prepared for the exam? But unless I take the exam and get a score, I don't know how my preparation, did. I don't know that everything that I read was applicable. I did not enjoy, probably like most people, in school, I did not enjoy being tested. I way more enjoyed studying and reading and filling my head with the information. I remember I would study at some point, educationally. I would study and then I would get mad that the teacher didn't ask me the question that I really, really knew. Especially if it was like an essay type question and something I'd really, gone deep level on. And I was like, oh man, I know this backward and forward. And then I get to the test and be like, they didn't even ask me that. Ask me the stuff that I am prepared for, So in a lot of ways, what I'm talking about is changing the framework of how you see these tests that we go through, these challenges that we go through, these passions that we go through, right? You could say, oh man, that person, I was so passionate about them. I feel like they wasted my time. We could say that, right? That's one way of looking at that situation. I tend to take pain and turn it into purpose. So I try and say, what was the purpose of going through that situation? What did I need to learn about myself, or what did I need to learn and identify about love interest and people I would be attracted to? What do I need to learn about that situation so that I can move forward? And then I always take it a step further so I can move forward and then I can help others move forward. It's not all bad in life. There is a lot of bad in life. It's not all bad, right? It's not all bad. And if you can take the bad that does come your way and you can reshape it and reframe it into a way that becomes purposeful in your life so that you can move forward and contribute and positively impact others in your world, then you have really stumbled upon something that is going to bring you a lot of peace. So I tend to go really, really deep into topics. And I appreciate everybody who has given me their attention for an hour and 2 hours. But my goal this year is to have more frequent conversations. So shorter content, but still relevant to the conversations we need to have. And there's so many, and there's so many exciting things that I am, kind of cooking up and getting really, really ready for this year. And I want to still take the time to really share with you that I appreciate you and I see you and I hear you and I understand that as we move forward, through this podcast, that I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn from things. Everything is not, as easy as it appears. And I am so thankful for the support because each person who says, oh my gosh, I really loved listening to that episode. I really loved that insight. I really needed to hear that word, that message. Every person is just reinforcing my purpose and reinforcing that that message was on my heart to share for a reason. Someone needed to hear it. And I am so appreciative of my journey of finding all of my stuff, digging all of my stuff up, unveiling it, and trying to comfort myself through that healing process, and being able to help do the same thing for all of you out there. So I'm very, very appreciative and grateful. I'm starting this new year off with just the heart of purpose and how to positively contribute who I am to the world, and do that fearlessly, humbly, and consistently. So I do not make New Year's resolutions. I do not believe that there is any type of timeline for development. I believe it is about showing up consistently, doing what you can do, saying that is enough. So today I have shown up. I have shared with you something that I hope really can get the conversation and the thoughts going in your own mind about maybe how you've been viewing passion versus purpose, and that can be a great start for you to get some clarity about how you want to begin these next steps in your journey. Thank you so much for listening to You Are Poetry podcast. I appreciate you. Until next time.